Today we're going to make the step. I've already started a new file. Units are millimeters. And I'm going to go ahead and start the sketch on the top plane. And for normal, go ahead and draw the center rectangle, 275 by 400 with a construction line corner to center rectangle. Drop the middle, pull it out, line, and we'll go ahead and go to construction, one corner to the next corner, escape, dimension 275, zoom back out by 400. Going to extrude this out 40 millimeters, 5-degree draft, so that it contours narrower at the top than at the bottom. Exit my sketch, and I wanted to rename this main sketch. Okay, going to go ahead and extrude, and I'm going to choose the face of my main sketch. Blind 40. And we're going to draft it 5 degrees. Now as I roll to the side and I can zoom in, you can see that I can draft different directions. And I want to draft it so it gets narrower towards the top. Hit the check mark. Going to apply a 15 millimeter fillet all the way around the corners. Circular fillet. And I'm going to grab each corner. Hit the check mark. So now we have our part here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look and change so that I don't see these planes anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and turn these planes off. I'm going to do a new sketch on the top, and for normal, we're going to go ahead and do that sketch, offset tool, start picking my edges. Should have a closed body, pull it inside. Make that 5 millimeters. There's your sketch. We go ahead and exit that sketch. And we're going to cut that body out. So what I'm going to do is select this sketch right here. I'm going to remove the material. We're going to go blind to 5 millimeters. Now the merge scope should be part 1. I should have named that step, so I'm going to call that a step here in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and rename this real quick. Now when you do that, if you go back into your extrude and you edit it, you'll see that the merge scope updated. So I've got a little notch in the top. Let's shell the bottom. So here we are. We're going to basically hollow out the bottom of that thing, and what we're going to do is shell the bottom to 5 millimeters thick. So we'll flip the part over, choose the shell tool right here. The face we're going to remove right here is click on that, face the extrude, going for 5 millimeters. That'll leave it 5 millimeters thick material all the way around. Hit the check mark. You'll see it cut it out. Now we had to do the top before we did the bottom, otherwise those two would penetrate each other. Next up, we're going to make some ribs on this thing. I'm going to make those ribs on the top, very topmost part. So we're going to start a sketch on that top part. Sketch, top plane, and I'm going to go normal. We want to show that main sketch because we want to see this diagonal line right here. We're going to use that. I'm going to sketch a line right here. Click, drop, drag, pull it out, escape out of that line, apply the dimension tool, and we're going to want to go 45 degrees between the bottom line and this line. We want that to be 45. Then we also want the distance, and I'll zoom in here, the distance from here to my line in a straight line. So just like that, we want that to be 22 millimeters. It's not quite fully defined. I'm going to fiddle with these endpoints here, get out of my dimension tool, and I don't want this endpoint to fall off of the part. You'll see what I mean here in a minute. So let me just zoom in here, get out of that dimension tool. I want to be able to pull that endpoint up here, and I want this endpoint to fall within there. Something like this. Hopefully that makes sense. We've exited our sketch now, and what we're going to do is we're going to use this sketch to make a rib. So we'll choose our rib feature right here. And the sketch profile is going to be sketch 2. And we're going to go thickness of 10, and we're going to go normal to it. So in other words, we're going to extend our rib out so that we are 10 millimeters thick here. Now this is why we didn't have to define the end of the part, or the end of that sketch. Normal to it. We just want to be sure that our rib reaches the edges. Now we want to extend the profile to edge parts, so that'll stick it out further so it merges in. You can kind of see how that works. Click on the check mark to accept it. That's your first rib. Now we're going to pattern this rib. And the way we're going to pattern this rib is using what's called a linear pattern. So in the instructions, they just tell you that that's your seed, and then your pattern direction is going to go along that dashed line that we. Okay, now we're going to pattern the rib, and that's going to be a linear pattern right here. Grab that, and we're going to pattern a feature, not a part. Pick the feature, it's the rib. The direction, highlight that. We're going to follow that line right here. We're going to put these 20 millimeters apart. We're going to do 23 of them. Somebody's done the math for us. And this is important. If you don't select this, you're going to get 23, and I'll show you here. Let me tab out of this. You're going to get 23 patterns like that. Not what you want. You want to go per instance. In other words, it grows one across the other. Okay, so see that? You need to select that button right there. Per instance. Hit the check mark. There you get your grip pattern on the top. Now I want to start a new sketch, and we're going to choose the right plane. We're going to go normal to that. And we're going to basically make this sketch right here. So again, we're going to make a rib, and we're going to basically put a line in here that's horizontal across. We don't want it to go beyond the edge of the part. We want to put that line at 5 millimeters from the bottom. And we don't care how long it is, because we're going to extend the resulting rib up to the body of the part. That's 5 millimeters. And then we'll accept that sketch. Okay, we're going to make a rib on the bottom of this part. So we're kind of looking at the bottom here. Choose our rib. Sketch profile is highlighted. Choose that sketch we just finished. Make this 5 millimeters thick. And we want to extend the part to the bottom down here, and it's going to be parallel at 5 millimeters. So I deselected my sketch here. There we go. So now that's what it looks like. Hit the check mark. What we're going to do is apply a taper to this, basically a draft. So we're going to use the draft feature right up here. The neutral plane will be the top of that. It's actually the top right here, sorry. So this is the neutral plane right there. See if it'll pick it for me. There we go. I'm going to choose that second. I'll go entities to draft first. So I'm going to draft the two sides here. My neutral plane is going to be the top right up here. There we go. So I want that draft to be 5 degrees, and I want it to taper towards the top. So we'll look at it and see how it's tapering right now. And you can kind of see how it's going to taper in. And I can accentuate that. Let's go 10 degrees just so you can see it. And you'll see that it's tapering in or out. That's kind of how we want it to be, tapered like that. I'm going to flip that around. So there we are, tapered. So once we taper it and we look at it, what you'll see is it's narrower towards the bottom of the step. So this is the top of the step right here. That's the bottom of the step, so it tapers down in a V. I'm going to do another linear pattern. This linear pattern is going to be for for that rib, and what we're going to do is we're going to pattern it along that edge. We're going to do 3. Come up here, grab a linear pattern, feature pattern. Features that we're going to pattern is going to be my draft and my rib. The direction we're going to go is along this inside edge. Now we're going to choose centered. Okay, we're going to do 2 centered. We're going to put them at 100 millimeters apart. Now it says 2 of them, but the C doesn't count in this instance, so that's what it looks like. Hit the check mark to accept it. So we're going to do a second sketch, and we're going to do that sketch on top of this surface. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the surface. And you'll see that because that plane is showing and I've got that sketch showing, I can't really pick it easily. So I got to turn that off, and now I can pick the surface. Okay. So I'm going to go sketch, and I'm going to sketch right on top of that rib. Go normal to that. And now we're set up. What we want to do is a sketch that looks like this. So construction, line, line, symmetric about the construction line, running through the middle, 100 millimeters apart. So I'm going to grab my line tool, start out with a construction line, and I'm just going to stretch this bad boy out, drop it, pull it, escape from that. That line is anchored right there at the midpoint, which is good. And now I want to drop 2 more lines. Line across here, line across here, both horizontal lines, so we can see the constraints. And now what we want to do is add a constraint, symmetric, these 2 lines, evenly distributed. Show my constraints, and they're evenly distributed. Dimension tool, 100 millimeters between lines. Don't really care how long they are for now. And as you're seeing from this rib feature, we can just tell the rib to extend out. So we're going to make another set of ribs 5 millimeters thick, normal to the sketch plane. So let's go ahead and grab our rib tool, get out of that. Rib tool. It's going to ask me what the sketch profiles are, and I'm going to tell it these 2 lines. We're going to go normal to it. So we're going down into the part. We're going 5 millimeters. And I'm going to tell it to extend the profiles to the part edge. And there it did it. Accept it. Same draft that we did before. So now we're going to choose our draft tool. We're going to go ahead and click on our top portion here. That's the neutral plane. And then the entities to draft is we're going to draft these edges right here. We're going to put that taper on them. So face of the ribs, angle is going to be 5 degrees. And we want to look at this and see which way that taper is going to be. So we want the skinny part to be up. So we'll reverse that and look at it. So you see that's the fat part and the skinny part. Okay, so that's how we want it. We want the skinny part at the top. And it looks like I missed this rib right there. So it looks like I've got all my ribs, except it. Next up, we want to make some holes in the side. So we want to make a new plane right here. Choose that. And we want to make that, well, actually we don't even need to make the plane. We can just sketch, and we're going to choose the plane of that surface. That'll work fine. Go normal to that. And we want to make the sketch right here. 50 millimeters in from the edge, 20 millimeters up to the bottom. Just want to put these points on here. So we're going to grab our point tool right here. I'm just going to drop these on here. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit and just drop sets of points on like that. And now I can add some constraints to those points. So I can tell it that it's horizontal between this point and that point. And then I can also say that it is vertical between this point and that point. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this point so that it is midpoint on the edge. So I'm going to grab this point right here and drag it down. Actually, I'm just going to grab it, and then I'm going to make it coincident with the edge. And put that point on it. And then I'm also going to grab this point and make it midpoint right there with that line. And then measure this out. 20 millimeters. And I'm going to put this line so it is 50 millimeters from that edge. I'm going to use those points so that we can basically do this ISO M10 clearance hole. So I'm going to do that. So I exit the sketch, and now I grab my hole tool right here. And it's basically going to be a simple hole. It's going to be blind. ISO clearance M10 normal fit 11. Depth here is going to be 5 millimeters. I'm going to put these holes right here and here, and accept that feature. Now once we make those, what we can do, and you'll see that those holes go through on that edge, so now what we're going to do is we're going to mirror those. So we'll mirror that feature. Mirror. It asks me the entities. I'm going to go ahead and grab that hole. Oops, I double clicked on that, so let's try that again. Mirror. Entities. And it's going to be a feature mirror. I'm going to grab the feature. It's going to be the hole. The mirror plane, I'm going to choose off of my tree up here, and it's going to be the right plane. Now when we do that, when you roll the part over, you'll see those holes appear over there. The next thing we want to do is we want to do this cutout right here. So this is the bottom edge of the part on that right side. So we'll go ahead and make this arc right here, 50 millimeters again from the edge, 15 high, 12 radius. So we're going to start another sketch on that same side, normal to it. And now what I'm going to do is go ahead and pick off a line tool, go vertically up, and hit my arc tool, arc over something like that, pull it up, just like that, select my line tool again, drop, come down. Hit escape to get out of it. And I'm going to check those constraints. So right here, that is perpendicular to the bottom, horizontal or vertical. Coincident, coincident. Good, good, good. So what I need to do is add some tangents. Tangent between a line and an arc. There's my first tangent. And then I want to go tangent between the arc and the line. There's my second tangent. Dimension this. Radius of 12. Height of 15. Location of the center point. I got a little error in there, so let me get rid of the error here. Let me see what the deal is there. This constraint is not really true. I want this to be just vertical. There we go. Now I can do that dimension of 15. It's telling me it can't do that when these two are horizontal, and I see what the problem is. It's this this criteria right there is what I want to get rid of. There we go. Now what I got to do is dimension from the edge, and we're going to use the bottom edge here. So I'm going to pick that point, and I'm going to come over here and pick this point with my dimension tool. Sometimes it can be a little finicky when you're trying to do that, but you want that to be 50. Be sure you got the right point, fully defined. You'll see sometimes that it is dropping unintended relations, and you just got to see what's red and say, well, do I really want that? In that instance, what it was telling me is it was going to try and put this hole right in line with this point, and I didn't really want that. It was an accident. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do the extrude, and we're going to cut through everything. So we're going to do an extrusion, solid, remove face of that sketch right here. Let me clear this out and pick the right thing. So I would really want this sketch right here. So we're going to cut that, and we're going to go through all. And you see it just blasts through it all. You'll see I actually made a mistake here, and you see how that sketch is on a sloped pattern, so now it goes through super weird. So I messed that up, but it's okay, I'm going to fix it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to this sketch, and I'm going to edit this sketch. And instead of on the face of the extrude, what I really want to do is put it on the right face. So I just move that sketch right here to the right face, to the right plane. Okay, now you'll see that it broke that relation, so I'm going to go back in and fix that. So we'll go normal to it. I'm going to be sure that we have the right dimension here. So now I'm going to dimension this again. In the center point here. And I'm dimensioning to this edge right here. Go from that edge to the center point. So we're looking normal at it. So I'm going to dimension, give it my little message here, from here to there. And I want that to be 50 millimeters. Now what you'll see is that's actually going to this edge right there. I had to pick the point, so it's a little bit finicky when you do that. Now, one thing I might want to add to this sketch, it doesn't really say to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and add a line to the bottom of to make it a closed body. It's right here to there. So now that is a closed body. And fully defined. Exit out of that sketch. And now I can go back and fix my extrusion. So this is going to go through all. In a second direction, it's going to go through all. So it'll come through both sides, but this time it'll be even with the part. So we're going to go change our directions. There we go. And now we're through all both sides. Accept it. Sorry for that. Now what we want to do is to come down here and apply a material. And this is going to be nylon. Plain old nylon. And check the mass. You should be right about 1.493. And that'll be right. Thanks for watching.